Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. My name is Sandy Markle. I'm the founder and CEO of Blueberry. And I've been in food tech for many years, and I'm the ultimate foodie. So I'm really excited to talk to this panel today about how food delivery is getting the meals to our homes. So today we're talking to Whitney Pegden, Melissa Faz, and Heather Rivera, all about it. So I would like everyone to introduce themselves and talk about your companies and what you do there. So let's take it away.
She's looking at me, so I think that means I'm supposed to go. It's so nice to see all of you here today. I'm Heather Rivera, and I am the Chief Business Officer at Wing. Wing is the leader in residential drone delivery services, and so we are the people who are behind the thing that you're seeing on the stage, which is a drone. I like to call them tiny airplanes. And so we take small items like meals or forgotten items from the grocery store, over-the-counter medicine, and bring them from the merchants that we partner with, like a DoorDash or a Walmart, to your home. So that's us.
Hi, it's great to be here. Melissa Faz, I'm the Chief Commercial Officer for Coco Robotics. We are a leader in sidewalk delivery and street delivery, really with a focus on restaurants as well as retail partners. We operate in Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles, and overseas. And I'm very jealous that she has a drone here and I don't have a Coco robot here. But I do have this tiny little pin on my lapel if you want to understand what it looks like. Cool. Hopefully you've seen them if you live in any of those markets. So great to be here, Sandy. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here as well. My name is Whitney Pegden, and I am the General Manager of Blue Apron, which is now owned by Wonder.
So when I first heard about this panel, I thought I knew everything that there needed to be known about food delivery, and then I started learning more about the companies that you work with. What's surprising about your part of delivery that most people don't realize?
I'll jump in. I would say that we hear a lot of concerns about safety. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that our robots are actually designed to be extremely safe. They're small, they are speed controlled, they yield to pedestrians. If a sidewalk is surprisingly crowded or congested, they will pull back, pull aside. They're not going to plow through. And on top of that, we always have the availability of what we call our safety pilots. You can jump in and remote operate the robot to navigate any really challenging edge case where the autonomy might need some extra help.
I can add to that. For me, I think it's that most people assume that faster delivery is always what people want and care about most when it comes to delivery. That's definitely true a lot of the time, and speed is certainly a big part of convenience, but delivery is part of getting you your goods and your food and your meals more conveniently, not always necessarily faster. And it's something that we've seen a lot, both at Blue Apron with our customers, but also prior to Blue Apron, I was at Walmart for 7 years working in the delivery space. And I think it's really important that when we think about delivery, we make sure we are solving all of the different problems that customers might have, or all of the ways they might be seeking convenience. So that could be faster, that could be cheaper, that could be a smaller window, or refrigerated. And I think that we can take a really expansive view, a more expansive view on convenience as it relates to delivery.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think from Wing's perspective, we are always surprised by people who are thinking that this is just the future, it's all Jetsons and flying robots and that kind of thing is not the here and now. But we're actually servicing people today. And so we're in markets like Dallas and Atlanta and Charlotte. And so these are flying today. And of course, we're going to continue to expand over time, but I think it's really sometimes the most surprising thing to people is that it's actually operating now.
That was certainly surprising to me, for sure. So when you think about, the signals of where we are with food delivery, what's the clearest signal you're all seeing that autonomous delivery is shifting from just something that you're testing or experimenting with something to actually this is the reality? What is the signal that you've seen to show that shift is actually happening now?
I'll answer from a customer of autonomous delivery and consumer. I think seeing autonomous delivery leave college campuses and leave really modern planned cities and move into more complex environments is super encouraging and really exciting. It's one thing to have a very controlled environment where you operate a pilot. It becomes much harder whenever you think about operating in the wild, wild west or like a New York City. And we're already starting to see a lot of players come into those spaces and handle really, really complicated situations that are really hard to plan around.
And I'll totally agree with everything you're saying, and building on the comment you just made before around the fact that a lot of people do seem to think that robotics and autonomous solutions are far out into the future. But where I see eyebrows raised is when I share that like Coco's delivered over 500,000 deliveries, 1 million miles in some of the densest urban cities around. So you see that, and to your point, those are complex use cases, and we're navigating them. And we're doing that for hundreds of thousands of local restaurants, but also national brands. So working with Taco Bell, White Castle, Shake Shack, Little Caesars. When you see national brands start to rely on autonomy and peak delivery times, that's when you know this has really become a new innovation that is being cemented. And it moves really from being a novelty to being infrastructure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of whether something is actually here or not is their demand for it. And I think we're seeing that not only from the consumers, so the evolution of delivery from when it wasn't a thing for any type of a food product until now has been really fast-paced, but from the retailers and the merchants as well. Just like you said, I think if you have large national brands who are looking at the services that these companies provide, they take that really seriously.
Yeah, I was thinking about the human element when you were all talking just now. The shift also really requires a shift in human behavior. And so it makes sense that, of course, everything is theoretical until when you're building. But then when you really see people start to adopt those things into their lifestyle, that's really when you know that, wow, we have something here. So that's really cool. I remember in the past, I lived in Asia for years, and before then, I never did food delivery before. And then things that I thought I would never do, all of a sudden became so approachable, so much a part of my lifestyle. So you can definitely see the shift there too. And in the beginning, when we first started talking about what your companies were offering, I think Whitney mentioned, speed, fast delivery, like people want things yesterday. We live in a fast-paced society. But at the end of the day, beyond speed, what makes life easier for your customers because these products and services exist across all your different organizations? What's making life easier for customers?
I mean, I love to go back to the forgotten grocery item use case, and maybe that's just because I'm a working mom, but it's like if I'm trying to cook dinner and get that on the table, and I'm cooking tacos or something, and I realize I don't have the ground beef that I need, probably don't have time to go back to the grocery store, and I probably need something in minutes rather than hours. And so being able to tap into a service like Wing, which can literally get, the flight time is like an average of 5 minutes to get it from the merchant to your house, that makes a huge difference, and that makes my life as a working mom a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I think for me and at Wonder and at Blue Apron, we're taking this problem from a broader, not just delivery standpoint, but like mealtime standpoint. How do you get dinner, get lunch, get breakfast every day? And I think for us, it's really important, this recognition that we're not robots and we don't necessarily eat dinner the same way 7 nights a week, 365 days a year. On any given night, we have different cravings, we have different constraints. And being able to solve those cravings and those constraints as they vary and day in and day out is really important. So for us, the way we do that is we have solutions for whenever you want a delicious pizza delivered as soon as possible on a Friday night. But we also have solutions, through meal kits whenever you want a home-cooked meal, but you only have 20 minutes to actually get it together and put it on the table. And we're working on solutions to do, even grocery and reservations at fine dining. So no matter how you're thinking about, Wednesday night versus Saturday night versus Monday night, all of those options are available to you.
Yeah, I really liked what you said earlier about the really expanded definition of convenience and making it very holistic. And I kind of almost feel the same way about thinking about easy. What's hard is when the food's late, the food's not prepared well, it's cold, it doesn't come at all. I'm not sure where it landed, was delivered. So I think, to me, ease is about speed, reliability, but also affordability, because, let's make it easier for people to actually access it. So like my passion working at Coco is really around democratizing the convenience of last mile delivery so that more people can access that occasion. The opportunity could probably double or triple if more people could kind of afford this on a daily basis. And certainly speed and reliability are table stakes for merchants. And so what's key there to make it easy for them is to integrate into their tech stacks, their actual in-store operations. And then another element that we found really important with Coco is making sure it's really easy for the staff. You look at your frontline associates, right, in retail, in restaurants, like they may churn 50, 100% a year. So it's really important to Coco to design to really fit into store operations, but also be something that staff can feel confident and capable with just like a few minutes of training.
And I can see how, you're also getting buy-in from even the people who work with you. Many times just by working with clients, I end up being a customer. Just because I see, the ease of use. I was just thinking, I didn't mention this question in advance, but I was thinking about the importance of packaging, because packaging, it engenders trust. What's the impact of even packaging in your companies? Is that something that you think through when it comes to going from the merchant to the customer? Is that something that is a thing at your companies?
That's clearly
It's definitely something we think a lot about it, and we have for Blue Apron, everything that we pack we control. We control the packaging, we control the outer box, the inner materials, and so that's great because we have the ability to really manage that process and do everything possible to make sure that your groceries, your meals and your groceries show up in temperature, whether you live in Phoenix in the summer or in Colorado in the winter. But I think one thing that's really cool about autonomous delivery is that, at Wonder we have Blue Apron and we have our 1P restaurants, but we also have Grubhub, which is all of the third-party players. And, we recognize that, we can offer what we think is, the best, pizza restaurant through Wonder and the best burger restaurant through Wonder, but sometimes you just want that local ramen shop and you want it delivered. And that's where it's a lot harder to control packaging because that's, a local mom and pop shop. And, they're going to pack it however they're going to pack it. And I think that whenever you have delivery options that can help protect that experience and make sure that it still shows up piping hot, that's really, really valuable to us because we want to make sure that not just our first-party options like Blue Apron and Wonder show up, on time and hot or cold or whatever that may be, but also we can offer the same quality control for our third-party restaurants as well.
Yeah, for Coco, really where I would take this packaging question is, and you guys have such great expertise on making sure the food is the highest quality. Where it really impacts Coco is thinking about the physical structure of our robot. So it's designed to fit like 8 pizzas because there's occasions that require that, right? Anyone who has kids knows this. We have cup holders. It's insulated to help keep the food at the either hot or cold as it was prepared. as well as keeping it stable so that presentation looks just like how it was created at the restaurant, because that's the first thing you smell first, then you see. And that's an important part of communicating quality. And then finally, our robots are locked. So to your point, like you need to make sure people feel that their food is safe and untampered with. And so that's kind of how I think about the packaging part from a cocoa perspective.
Yeah, and I think maybe we blend a bit of both of you, because like you, we manufacture our own packages that go along with the drones, and we think a lot about, okay, this thing is going to have to fly through the air, and it's going to have to stay stable. So if we're delivering a latte, you better not have that foam fall out on the way to the end customer. So we think a lot about the package design and weatherproofing it and those types of things. But you had said something earlier about kind of seamlessly integrating into the operations of the companies that we partner with. And so we also think a lot about that. And so actually, how does the box open? How do you pack it? Is it hard to pack? Is it easy to pack? So packaging ends up being something that we give a lot of thought to.
Yeah, it's so important, and I think that will definitely really encourage people to use it more when they really understand packaging. I know packaging is really important to me, just across the board. One of the words that I hate the most is just. I'm just this, or it's just that, because it really minimizes the value of something. So we touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but regarding misconceptions. So for each of you, how does just play a part in your organizations, and as far as what people think, misconceptions, but what is the reality that you want customers to know, that you're not just X, you're Y?
I would say with cocoa, because we've launched primarily with restaurants in the beginning, we probably have a little risk of cocoa robots are just for restaurants when they're not. We're actually now with DashMart and Uber Eats, they're both wonderful partners, and now we've launched with DoorDash and Uber Eats are great partners, and we've now, even with DashMart, expanded into retail because they enable delivery of essentials with their merchant partners. So Coco is now getting into that as well. And I would say the other just is Coco isn't just a sidewalk robot. So we can actually do a lot more. We're focused on sidewalks right now to prove out our capability on a really complex use case in a dense urban environment. But there's kind of nothing stopping us from getting into bike lanes and roads, where it works for the city and the community.
Yeah, I do think that this space is just going to continue to evolve. So I think, and we've already seen it today with a number of different types of companies that have kind of morphed from something that they were to something that they are now. And I think for Wing, the roots of the company are in aviation. And so we've spent, a decade plus designing these aircraft, and they literally are aircraft. And so I think, probably in the beginning, people thought of us more as an aviation company. And so I'd say we're not just an aviation company. We certainly are. We know tons about how to, fly aircraft safely from point A to point B. We have one of the largest fleets in the world globally. But we're also a delivery company, and our bread and butter truly is delivering, these small items, especially food, to consumers.
So a little bit outside of the delivery space, but for me with Blue Apron, it's really about changing misconceptions for a product and a brand that most people in America think they already know. So I've only been at Blue Apron for a year, and prior to that, all of my experience has been on building new products and services from the ground up. So you're getting to make the first introduction to customers, and the challenges, getting scale and getting people to know who you are. At Blue Apron, it's the opposite. I bet probably everyone in this room has heard of Blue Apron before, and many of you have probably tried it. And perception of Blue Apron and the brand is generally really positive, but you have a lot of people who say, I tried that 7 years ago and it was cool, but not for me. And so I think for us, the main challenge is having people take a second look and realize that we're no longer just a meal kit. and we're no longer just to help people learn how to cook and feel like a chef. And our more recent pivot in the last year has been way more about convenience and helping you get dinner on the table when it feels important to you to feed your family something that tastes good and something nutritious, but you only have 20 minutes to do it.
Yeah, that question was really inspired by Blue Apron, because I thought that that's a misconception a lot of people have, that Blue Apron is just a meal kit. And one of the threads that I really love across this panel is how thoughtful everything that your organizations are doing, companies are doing for the consumer. It's not just anything. It doesn't just happen. And it's really thinking about solving the problems that people need from the foundational level. So in my note cards, I actually wrote down, Wonder cooks it, Coco moves it, Wing flies it. Which
We sat in a good order.
yeah. Yes, it's all working together. So it's in my mind, that's how I think about it. And in order for that synergy to happen, there's a lot of things that have to be in place going forward. So I was also thinking about the different places and spaces that engage with your organizations. So how might restaurants and homes, cities, infrastructure need to really be redesigned or improved so that the tech powered by these delivery systems really becomes mainstream?
I don't know that we have to redesign from day one. I think we've seen kind of a natural evolution over time. So if I think about restaurant delivery, it wasn't natural in the past for restaurants to have a designated area, toward the front of their restaurant where they would stack up, lots of different paper bags of people's orders. And so I think these companies have naturally sort of evolved to figuring out what's going to work for their workflows. So I think that'll continue to happen. I think that you could see, when it comes to homes, one thing that could be interesting is I think about apartment complexes and how they sell themselves to prospective buyers or leasers. And I can imagine a world where they're touting this as an amenity, right? And so you can get your sidewalk robot here, you can get your wing drone delivered, you can get.
I love that. We have a dog walk and a delivery
there you
area.
Go. So I think that's maybe one example of something that could happen.
I'll add to that and agree that you may not need a ton of infrastructure changes in the short term. Coco Robots is designed to fit into current residential and retail and merchant structures and operations today. But I'm super excited about what I think the future could bring because we've seen the adaptability, and I'll focus in on restaurants right here. I have a huge love of restaurants in that industry. And in COVID, what happened? The dining room shut down. Wow, you just took the heart and soul of my business and shut it down. And you saw restaurants adapt in just amazing ways. They found open air space on sidewalks, and a restaurant near me, a pizza place, even had put a gazebo over a few parking lot spaces and expanded that way. They cut holes into glass doors to have a takeout window in a strip mall. And so I think we will see a lot of things come to pass. And I think when you'll really know things have changed and this has really become part of the infrastructure when drones, robots are considered at the design stage or the outlet refurb stage. But I do think you'll see even the patterns that are forming now, dedicated drop-off points. It's just naturally happening, right? So I think you'll continue to see those, and those patterns will ultimately influence the design. I love the amenity idea. I'd not heard that before.
That's a
it's
good
a really
one.
great idea.
You can help me with that. We can
would love
go
to.
to market with that one.
We're on it.
Yeah, and I think businesses changed and evolved a lot in COVID, but I think consumers did as well. You mentioned that your experience in China was what opened you up to delivery for the first time, but for a lot of people, it was COVID, and a lot of people who were not willing to consider grocery delivery because they had, misconceptions or ideas of what that might look like, were pushed to try delivery and try, new types of delivery and new types of dining solutions. And I think that it really advanced the space forward quite quickly. And it also helped clarify some of the opportunities for businesses to go chase to better serve the needs of the evolving consumer.
Yeah, speaking about consumerism too, I was also thinking about that shift during COVID, and there's such good points. The demand sometimes allows these designs to just kind of happen organically. Was there anything that any of you saw, Whitney? I know you haven't been with Wonder for too long, but even with Blue Apron or anyone on the panel. Was there any shift during that pre-COVID to COVID time that really either solidified, the direction of the companies as you saw consumer behaviors or needs changed for anyone here?
I mean, I think just delivery exploded.
Yeah.
It was lagging the rest of, other industries and e-commerce. People were still largely, by and large, going to stores, shopping in person. And I think that we just see a completely different trend now than we did before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So before I worked for Cocoa, I worked for the Coca-Cola company for 25 years. And at the time, pre-COVID, I was with Coke, and I managed the DoorDash and Uber Eats relationships with Coca-Cola. And my focus was really helping restaurants integrate those, basically adapt them. And you had a ton of restaurants who were very, very skeptical, and they did not like the fees that were being charged, and they were very anti. And then COVID hit, and I'm not sure I've ever worked as hard as I worked in the next 3 months, because every restaurant was calling me saying, how do I start delivering with DoorDash and Uber Eats? And so it did see this dependence on delivery, and I feel like it pulled the future 5 years forward. In fact, I had just 3 months ago given a trend presentation of what's the future of delivery, and I pulled that deck back out, and I'm like, all right, 3 months into COVID, we're there, But what I think was really surprising too is there was a lot of questions then as we came to thankfully the end of COVID and dining rooms were opening up of, does delivery sustain as a very big portion of occasions? And it did. So I think people just they loved the convenience. They came to know that they could get things delivered with quality, and it became an important necessity to managing their lives.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because I think if you look at most other categories of online consumer purchases, I mean, delivery and online purchases represent a much higher percentage of things than the food category and the grocery category do today. But we've certainly seen that rise dramatically in the if you compare pre-COVID to post-COVID. So I think for all of us, I'm sure, we've all benefited from just some external factor that has helped to kind of shift that consumer behavior. But you even mentioned it when you were talking about your time in China as well, is that I think there's still a lot of latent demand that we've yet to unlock. And so I think as the world moves to expecting things faster, more conveniently, I don't think people have even recognized or realized all of the different use cases that they can solve through delivery. And what that opens them up to do with the rest of their time. And so I'm really excited about that, and just, watching what, consumers choose to do with their time and what they choose to order. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Totally agree.
Yeah, it's encouraging, it's exciting. And speaking about, I love the statement that you made, Melissa, about how it pushed the future a few years forward. That's so true.
It pulled it forward. So it was there right in front of us instead of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my deck became outdated so fast.
I know. I think it was a surprise to everyone. A good surprise, because sometimes it may be certain things that you needed to get buy-in for. Maybe you didn't need to get buy-in anymore because it's something that needed to happen right now. So the title of our panel is about 2035. The future of food delivery. And so what do you all think will be normal by 2035. We're thinking about the future as, senior executives. We always start with the phrase, imagine a world where. So what do you all think the future of food delivery will be by 2035?
I would say imagine a world where delivery is both magical and boring. Because I think by the time we get to 2035, we're going to be surrounded by so many intelligent devices that are going to be able to predict what we need and when we need it. And you've got, generative AI coming into the foreground, and so there's going to be just so much power to try to figure out what people's needs actually are and how to solve them. And then there will be the ability to have those needs solved automatically for you. And I think that's really great because, again, it comes back to people probably want to be able to spend their time with, the families that they have, the friends that they have, doing things that are not necessarily some of the more mundane tasks that they have to do throughout the day. And so if you just release that cognitive load, you don't even have to think about it and things just show up when you need them. It's a pretty amazing world that I think will exist, and I think people will become so accustomed to that it just won't even seem like a thing.
So what you're saying is that looking at this aircraft won't be weird. You just
Will not be weird.
Yeah,
I would argue you won't even look at it. Like, it will just become so much a part of the infrastructure in your daily life that you don't notice it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think for me, it's going to be, the word I think of is personalized. I think right now we exist in a world where we have so many options available to us, options for what to eat, options for how to get those items delivered, options just like abound, options for data about, our health and our daily metrics and how that can be improved or detracted by what we eat, monitors that we wear. And it's great, but it is a bit overwhelming, at least for me. It's a lot of information, it's a lot of choice. When I open up, a reservation app, it's overwhelming to pick a restaurant. When I open up a delivery app, it's overwhelming to pick a meal. And I think that now with the backing of AI, we can just really, really, really streamline those decisions for customers. We can pull in their health data, pull in their goals, pull in their preferences, and use that to really synthesize all of the options that are available to consumers and make it a very simple choice that doesn't require so much cognitive overload and so much doom scrolling. So you can make a decision and then get on to the next thing in your life, which I am personally very excited for.
I love everything Whitney and Heather said. The only thing I would add here is just kind of tying back to what I said in the beginning around what I want to see is a massive democratization of delivery, and kind of to your point of we haven't even tapped the use cases. I think delivery could be 2, 3, 5x as big as it is today from an occasions perspective, which means you have 5x the amount of people that can spend their time in their life on things that aren't this. And so my vision is kind of that democratization, which means delivery's free, high quality, not free, affordable, much more affordable, high quality, fast. For businesses, it's an occasion that they can really grow and expand in a profitable way, in a way that builds their brands. Cities and communities are greener and less congested and more comfortable, and just really what word did you use in the beginning? Joyful or?
Magical.
Magical. So I use the word delightful.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So I always like
delightfully personalized, bring it all together.
Delightfully personalized, and almost to the point where you're not even aware of it. But take it away, and then you're going to be like, wait a minute, I didn't realize how important that was in my life and how seamless it actually was.
I agree. I'm like, when would I have said that I aspire to be something unremarkable? I do. If we can get to the point where we are all unremarkable, then everything is just functioning so smoothly and people are just going about their lives.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I think about my mom is always the test case for where innovation is at because she's the most non-tech savvy person that I know. And that's how I know when something's democratized. When my mom says, buy me an Alexa, she doesn't know the official name of anything, but once she starts using it, and she can Zoom me on her iPad. That's so I know Coco's in Miami. That's where I'm from. When my mom gets the cocoa, then I know it's there, and that's I know it's going to be there by then. And yeah, so I think making it approachable for the standard person, so it's unremarkable. It's just part of the threads of our daily lives, and it makes things so much easier. Because I would love if I didn't have, I'm in Portland and my mom's in Miami, and she's like, oh, I want this, and I could just send it over to her, and everything will be just seamless. So I think, and the future may be pulled forward faster, than we think. We may not even need to get to 2035.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, I think that is a key point that was made earlier around, like, people do I think misperceive how fast this is going to come. And I almost draw an analogy to AI, where people kind of thought it was like far, far out, and we've seen miraculous advancements just in the last few years. And I think we're in the same space here, and it's going to happen faster than people are expecting. I know with Coco, like, we're targeting 10,000 robots by the end of 2026, and I'm sure you have huge expansion goals as well. So it's here now. It's today.
Agree. Well, I would love. I could talk about this for so long. I have so many questions. I'll probably keep asking you all after this panel. But if anyone is like me, I've learned so much just even knowing about this panel and getting to know what each of you are doing in your industries and in your companies. So if someone attending here, listening here, wants to keep track of this space now, 2026, January, like, what should they be paying attention to besides following your companies? What should they keep an eye out for, and how can they be prepared for when these services come into their cities?
I think let us come to you. It's on us to continue to push the envelope forward and make your lives more convenient and more delicious, and just better. And I think that, like, you'll start to see more and more of this come to all of the locations where you guys live, if you haven't already. And yeah, you shouldn't have to work too hard.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'd say most people still choose your favorite social media site, whether it's a TikTok, a YouTube, an Instagram. I think, the people who are able to experience something like drone delivery today from Wing, a lot of them like to post because it is something that has come to their neighborhood and they want to tell people about it. And so I think one way to find out a little bit more and to actually watch it in action is just take a look on social media. But I agree that there's nothing better than just, we will be there at some point.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to what you guys said, which is what I would have said, is just watching for signals of scale. So when you really do see movement from experimentation to permanence, that's really, you want to kind of get involved before you get behind, and that's what I would say you want to watch for.
Yeah, and it's great that you're working with brands that all of us are familiar with. And so, now that we know of these brands, we can look out for more of these collaborative opportunities, these collaborative signals, these brand partnerships. So we know, okay, the brand trust is already there just by learning so much more about what you all are doing. Thank you all so much for being with us today. And they'll continue to be here if anyone has any questions that they want to share. And thank you all so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It
Great
was
to be here.
fun.